Hey everybody, welcome to um welcome basically to something a little new, might be familiar. I said I was going to try to do something like this in several of my updates where I said I'd try to go back to reviewing some Sonic comics, some past ones, and I am taking a page and if not some inspiration from Matt, the Mega Beat Man, who does his Mega Beat Man True Blue reviews. He is currently doing a review on the original miniseries of the Sonic comic when it was under the Archie Comics license. So check that out. But here I thought I'd start out with something a little bit more higher up in issues, if you will, in issue numbers. Basically, this is the issue that I think a lot of fans would agree inspired Ian Flynn to go the route that he did, starting at the end of issue 230 and thus running its course to issue 247. And that, of course, is Sonic the Hedgehog issue 29, released around November, December, winter, if you will, of 1995. This makes this story at least 24 years old last month or 2 months before, around last month. It makes it about 24 years old, going to be 25 years at the end of this year, which would make it the 25th anniversary of this issue, in which we actually see Sally roboticized for the first time in the comics. And no, it's not a dream sequence or anything like we saw in Sonic's Nightmare, which was a season 1 episode of Sonic Sat AM. It's not that. Instead, this is actually a legit robotization that occurs in this story because basically Sally comes up with this idea to allow herself to be roboticized to spy on Robotnik, get the information and intel they need to try to get an advantage. Now, this is also the issue where we see the comic book debut of Dulcie the Dragon. Dulcie the Dragon makes a comic book debut in this issue, and she does play an integral part later on in the story. In fact, she plays an integral part right off the bat, and basically right here in this panel, this is where they don't know what it is yet, but they discover a portable de-roboticizer. And let's see. Yeah, portable de-roboticizer. And at first, when they find out and discover, because they actually give it to Rotor, and he kind of, I was just looking at it to kind of get a reminder. When they find out that it is a de-roboticizer, at first you can tell Sally's idea, her plan at first is, hey, let's use it on Bunny, make her flesh and blood again. But Bunny's like, nope, nope, I had no a better. But Bunny's like, nope, a better idea is to us have one of us get turned into a robot and then be de-roboticized via the portable de-roboticizer. Because she says basically she thinks they should use it as part of a plan to turn one of them into a robot. And you got to remember, this was at a time when it was still kind of comedic, but you could tell it had a little bit, it was getting more Sat AM influenced in there. And Sally actually knows what Bunny's talking about. And this is where Sally gets the idea of, hey, I'll be the one that volunteers myself to be roboticized. And this this is kind of where it looks on the up and up for them because let's see, I'm trying to think. If he says what it is. Oh yeah, basically Rotopert's what we find out later to be a neuro overrider behind Sally's ear, and basically it would allow her to have control over, have her free will back, even if she was roboticized. Now it looks like everything's up in the air, right? Well, it looks like that at first, and Sally's putting on a great act and everything to allow herself to be captured. And the robotization does take place as the freedom fighters were hoping, but what they didn't hope for, or what they didn't plan on, I should say, or didn't hope for, was Snively discovering um, the neuro overrider that would have allowed Sally to retain her free will. So basically, at first, the plan looked okay, for the freedom fighters, and it looked like everything was going to go their way. But then basically they find out that, oops. But then they find out later on, but they don't know at that moment that the plan has backfired because while Sally is acting and doing her acting to, is basically putting on her act of trying to struggle to be let go and let free and not to be roboticized, in which she does, she accidentally, I guess, shakes loose the new overrider from her ear. And this is basically when they find out that everything has gone downhill, starting from these panels, starting with these panels in these pages, they find out everything has gone downhill. And then this is where Sonic discovers it's gone downhill as well. Oh, when he sees what's happened. And then if that's not enough to confirm it, Hermit Robotnik ends up crushing the new overrider. And basically things start to kind of fall apart for them. That is until Dulcie arrives, and basically Dulcie sees what happened, what's going on, and she realizes, oh crap, things have backfired on us, and it looks like Robotnik's going to win. And he basically says, screw the de-roboticizer. I'm not going to need it anymore. Hey, once I roboticized all of you, nobody's going to stop me. Everybody's going to be afraid of me. I'm going to be able to just control the rest of the world just like that. But what he doesn't plan on is Dulcie flying in with the portable de-roboticizer, because Dulcie says Dulcie mentions that she brought the de-roboticizer just in case their plan backfired or failed, which it did. And knowing that it's only good for one shot, yeah, she crashes right into Robotnik's headquarters, or roboticizing room, into his headquarters to try to rescue his friends and maybe even Sally. And you can kind of see here maybe that Sally is struggling a bit because Sonic's trying to tell her, hey, remember who you are, remember we're your friends. And Sally's basically in a robotic saying, in her robotic voice, saying she has to obey. And just as she's about to press the button, of course, you get the Deus Ex Machina, where Dulcie, hits Sally with the portable de-roboticizer, zaps her with it, restores her to normal. Robotnik tries to finish the job that Sally didn't do because she got restored, but Dulcie prevents that, and basically they're able to free the others. Sally, of course, apologizes for not getting the job done, and, Sonic and the others are like, "Hey, we're cool, Sal. It's cool, Sal. Don't worry about it. You did the best you could." And then Dulcie basically jokes around by saying, "Hey, you look at it this way, Sally. Robotnik's the one that didn't get the job done. That's why I fired him." So they all have a big chuckle out of that. So overall, the first story, which was basically called Steel Belted Sally, was pretty good. The issue definitely intrigued me. I remember getting this back in 1995 when my mom came out to visit me in Kansas because I was living with my dad at that time. So she came out to visit, and she ended up getting me this issue, along with some other comics as well, so I can have something to read. Now, what's funny about this issue isn't just the first time we see Sally roboticized. This is actually the continuation of a prologue story called Growing Pains, which continues from 228. This is called Growing Pains Part 2 of 2, and this is where we meet Fiona in this story, but we find out it's a animatronic Fiona that's there to lure Tails into a trap, but that ends up backfiring. And basically, Tails and the animatronic Fiona start fighting. Tails doesn't want to fight her because he fallen in love with her apparently, and basically it ends when they end up in the water. And just as you know, the automation Fiona is about to finish him off. The water ends up rusting her, and you know, Tails, of course, is saddened by that. He swears revenge, basically swears he'll get Robotnik to repair her. He gets, well, basically, I'm just looking here, but he swears revenge. He swears he'll get Robotnik to repair her. And then this scene right here is what starts the lead in to the Tails miniseries, which is a very good miniseries. And we meet the Down Under Freedom Fighters and the other Tails potential love interest, Bobri Koala. And Tails, of course, at first is thinking he should tell the others, but then he realizes, wait a minute, this is my chance to prove them wrong. So he decides to go on the adventure by himself. And then here's what's kind of potent, kind of like weird here. You have this animation of Fiona shedding a tear in sadness, even though she's rusted and she's left on that island. She's shedding a tear like she realizes, hey, this guy did care for me because he placed me here to further be. He placed me here as um, a monument, a memorial, as a monument, yeah, of his love for her, and thus keep her from further rusting. So overall, not too bad as far as the a prelude story goes for the Tales miniseries at that time. And one thing about Archie Comics at that time is they were really into doing some miniseries with some popular characters. Of course, they did several Knuckles miniseries, um, courtesy of Ken Penders and other writers. They did the Sally miniseries, which was a huge hit. Penders, I think, did that one as well. And I'm not sure who did the Tales one. I think it might have been several writers as well. But overall, issue 29 was decent. It was a decent issue when I first read it, and still is. It's basically a first in a sense because it's the first time in the comics, and not just in a dream sequence, but in reality, or in their reality, that we have Sally get roboticized, even though she attempted to have it for a good, even though she attempted to do it as for a good cause to basically get them at the advantage, over Robotnik in the future, which spoilers, they do end up getting that advantage because the comic literally in the next issue takes a page out of season 2 of Sonic SatAM by having Uncle Chuck and Mutsky get the free will back, not by the way they get it in the series, but by some accidental means on Robotnik's part. So now they're able to do what they do the same thing they did in Sonic SatAM. They're able to act as eyes, for the freedom fighters. So that so basically, even though the original plan with Sally being, roboticized to try to spy on them, get some intel, get some information, get them a step ahead and all that may have backfired. In this case, it may have backfired. They still kind of got that advantage thanks to the next issue or so. Now, as far as the backup story, which was the second part of the Growing Pains prologue to the Tales miniseries, I had, excuse me, now, I have to say that after reading both issues, and I do have both issues, reading part 1 and part 2, I have to say that they did a good job. They were able to kind of develop Tails' character even more so in the comic, even show that Tails at his age could fall in love, and even if it's with something that's not flesh and blood. And it shows that maybe just with that little scene at the end, that maybe robotic animatronics like this animatronic Fiona can start having feelings as well. I mean, it shows in part 1. Check that out if you want to. But really shows at the end in that final panel as Tails is using his Sea Fox, that's what it was called, his submarine, to go back to Knothole and prepare himself for his solo adventure that he would have in the Tales miniseries. So overall, I would recommend this if you actually want to see the first time that Sally gets roboticized, and again, not in a dream sequence like in the season 1 episode Sonic's Nightmare, but legitimately get roboticized. This would be the issue to start with, to look into, as well if you want an idea of what they were doing miniseries wise when it came to other miniseries focusing and starring other characters. This is a good one to start with as well. So and in case you're wondering, this was also around the same time, because one thing they did then and they still do now, or they did recently in the past year, is they give reference boxes here. And when Sally suggests she'll be the one to allow herself to be roboticized, the writer, Angelo, his name is, I think, reminds us that Robotnik tried to do that back in the Sally miniseries. So this takes place after the Princess Sally 3-part miniseries. And 1995 was, I guess you could say, the year of Sally, because not only did she have probably one of the longest prologues or prelude arcs before her miniseries, starting with I think issue 17 going into 18, and I think like 19 and 20, and then the In Your Face 48-page special, and then the 3-part miniseries and then being the focal point of this. But she also basically made an appearance, even though it's like in a few pages. She makes her appearance right off the bat in a big splash page in the first issue of the Tales miniseries, and then she's there for like a couple of pages, and that's about it. And then that's the last we see of her in the story arc. So overall, though, I would recommend you check this issue out because I think you might enjoy it. And and again, it would give you an idea of when Sally was actually first roboticized, because anybody that might have been new to the comic when the Mecha Sally arc happened, you will discover that that wasn't the first time, this was. So let me know what you all think down below. Thank you for watching this new series. I will try to continue it as best I can. The Sonic the Hedgehog retro comic review of Sonic the Hedgehog issue 29. And I will talk to you all later. Let me know what you think down below. And hey, if you got any suggestions of issues or stories you might want me to look into, first of all, I have to make sure I have the issue. If I don't, then I will try to look into it, look into something else down the line. But let me know what you would like to see. But overall, I'll talk to you guys next time. Hope you enjoyed this, and I am out.